Welcome to the fourth video on differential calculus for BSc Mathematics paper 3. We are in the differential calculus unit, and in this video we shall deal with continuity and discontinuity of functions, infimum and supremum. The objectives of today's video is to make you understand the concept of continuous functions, to familiarize with the concept of boundedness, infimum and supremum of functions. At the end of the video, you will be able to understand what are continuous functions. You will be able to identify what will be the infimum and supremum of functions if they exist. What are the prerequisites? That is what you should know when you view this video. You should know what are limits of real valued functions, which we have done quite a number of times. We'll come to continuous functions. What do you mean by a continuous function? I'll state the definition. A function f of x defined in a neighborhood of a point A and also at the point A is said to be continuous at the point A if limit x tending to A f of x is equal to f of A. Sounds complicated? Okay. In simple terms, what are continuous functions? Continuous functions, as we know, they are continuous. They are simply moving. They don't break. A continuous movie, a continuous class, there is no break in between. In the same way, a continuous function means there is no break in the function. So what does it mean by saying there is no break in the function? That means if I am talking continuity at a point, when I am saying the function is continuous at the point, that means at that particular point the function does not break. What do you mean by the function is breaking? Breaking means there are two pieces at that particular point. That means it comes here, there is a cut and it goes on some other line. Okay. Continuous means if I go from the left hand side also I will reach the same point. If I go from the right hand side also I will be reaching the same point. That is what we mean by saying the function is continuous at a point. That means the limit of the function at that particular point is equal to the value of the function at that particular point also. Then we say that particular function is continuous. That means if limit x tending to A f of x is equal to f of A, then we say that the function is continuous at the point A. There is one more way of stating this which I have put as alternate definition. A function f of x defined in a neighborhood of a point A and also at the point A is said to be continuous at the point A if I have put the same thing in three different points. F of x is defined at x is equal to A, that means f of A exists. Second point, limit x tending to A f of x exists. The function at that point exists, the limit at that particular point exists, and the third point says that the value of the function defined and the limit at that particular point, if both coincide, then the function is continuous at that particular point. Till now we have spoken about limit of a function, and when I spoke about limits I explicitly mentioned when I speak about the limit of a function at a particular point, we are not bothered what happens at the point. We are bothered only what happens near that particular point. But when I speak about continuous function, the limit and the function at that particular point both become very important. The function has to be defined at that particular point, and the limit at that particular point and the function defined at that particular point, both values must be the same. Then we say that the function is continuous at that particular point A. Now, epsilon delta definition. Okay, it is similar to the limit definition. We will compare the definitions and then check. A function f of x is said to be continuous at x is equal to A if for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists a real number delta greater than 0 such that the distance between f of x and f of A is less than epsilon whenever the distance between x and A is less than delta. So from where does this follow epsilon delta? It looks similar like limit definition, right? We'll come back here. What did we define as continuity? Limit x tending to a, f of x is equal to f of a. That means what? When x comes very close to a, f of x comes very close to f of a. That means when the distance between x and a is made small, the distance between f of x and f of a also will become small. That is exactly we have taken. For every epsilon greater than 0, there exists a real number delta such that when you make the distance between x and a as less than delta, the distance between f of x and f of a will become less than epsilon. Okay. So this is about continuity at a particular point. Then we say, right, it is a continuous function. What does that mean without speaking about a point? A function is said to be continuous in an interval, not at a point, at a full interval, if it is continuous at every point in that particular interval. Basically, continuity is a point property. It is defined for a particular point. But when it is defined for all points in that particular interval, we say that the function is continuous in that particular interval. Then what do we mean by simply continuous function? If the function is continuous at every point it is defined, wherever the function is defined at all those points, if it is continuous, we simply say that it is a continuous function. Okay, few examples. These are very simple examples. I hope you can follow this. A constant function f of x is equal to k. The constant I have fixed is k. At any point you take the function, the value is always equal to k. Is continuous at all points wherever it is defined. What do you have? I think you can graphically imagine a constant function. It is a fixed. It goes like this, a constant function. So it is constant, it is not changing, nor going up, nor going down, nor breaking, nothing is happening, so that it is a continuous function. A polynomial function is always a continuous function. I hope you know what is a polynomial. If you don't know, please go back and analyze what is a polynomial. It is always a continuous function and a very useful function for us. Identity function is a continuous function. What do you mean by identity function? At the point 1, the value is also 1. At the point 2, the value is also 2. So that it is going on like this. It is a continuous function. Now, with that continuity in mind, we will analyze this function. This is some function which I have taken. You can define this function. I don't want to define. I simply want to analyze this geometrically. Now, this function, this is 0. Before 0, it is on this blue line. After 0, it is on this orange line. At 0, it is defined here. This black dot represents the value at 0. Now what happens? This is function in terms of limit and continuity. When I come to 0 from the left hand side, the function is moving on this blue line until 0 it is coming here. At 0 it is jumping up here. So the left hand limit, I don't bother what happens at 0. I am simply bothered what happens to the left side of 0. What is the left side of 0? It is coming down and reaching 0. So the left hand limit is 0. The right side of the function, when I come towards 0, the function is also coming on this orange line, and when I reach 0, the function is also reaching 0. So the right hand limit, I don't bother what happens at 0. I bother only what happens in the right side of 0. The right hand limit, it is coming down and it is going to 0. Therefore, the left hand limit, right hand limit, both are coming down and the value is 0. Okay. So the limit exists in this case. Left hand limit is 0, right hand limit is 0. So that the limit exists. But when I take the value of the function at 0, it is on this black dot. That means the value is not 0 at that particular point 0. At x is equal to 0, the function is not 0. So the limit exists, but the function is not continuous. What happened? It is coming here, jumping up. Again, soon after 0, it is jumping down and again moving on this function. It is not continuous. There is an abrupt change. Therefore, the limit exists in this case, but the function is not continuous. When I say it is not continuous, the word I use is a discontinuous function. So we'll talk about discontinuity. A function f of x is said to be discontinuous at a point if it is not continuous at that particular point. If it is not continuous at that point, it is discontinuous at that particular point. Same thing I have done here, a little different function. This is constant till it comes to 0. 0 it jumps down. Again after 0 it jumps up. So that this is a discontinuous function. In discontinuous also, there are different types of discontinuity. Okay. Now two functions we have seen, both of them we have said they are discontinuous. Okay. I'll come to the previous example. Now I said left hand right hand limit exists. That means in general limit at x is equal to 0 exists. Okay. This is discontinuous because at 0 it jumps up and down. Okay. Now this is how I have defined a function. Okay. Because of this point, because it's jumping, it becomes discontinuous. If I simply redefine this function as the value at 0 is also equal to 0. If this black dot is back here, then the function is going continuous, right? It is not jumping. I redefine the function at 0. I redefine the value also as equal to 0. Then the function left hand limit becomes 0. Value at 0 is also 0. Right hand limit also is 0. It becomes a continuous function. So some discontinuity can be removed by simply renaming or redefining the function at that particular point. At 0, I could remove a discontinuity by simply redefining the value at 0 as equal to 0. This is one kind of discontinuity. Okay. Limit exists, but the values of the limit and function don't match. Simply take the value and redefine it as the limit itself. Then we'll come back to this function. This is also a discontinuous function. Now, here it is continuous. At 0, left hand limit is 1. I imagine this point is 1. Right hand limit at 0 is 2. Left hand limit exists. Right hand limit exists. The function at the point also exists, but all the three are different. Now if I try to redefine this function, I take this point, I have a confusion. To make it continuous, if I define as this point also, it doesn't work. If I redefine the function at 0 as 2 also, it doesn't work. So I cannot remove the discontinuity. This is another kind of discontinuity. Okay, so we will discuss which are the types of discontinuity. Removable discontinuity. This is the first thing we did. A function f of x is defined in a neighborhood of a point A and also at the point A, but the limit and the value of the function does not match. This we say that as removable. Why it is removable? I can simply redefine the function. I define the function f of A as simply equal to the limit. Then it becomes a continuous function. Discontinuity of the first kind. Function is defined at x is equal to a. The left hand limit extending to a plus f of x and limit extending to a minus f of x, that is the left hand limit and the right hand limit exists but are not equal. This is what we did the second function. Left hand limit exists, the right hand limit exists, function is also defined but they are different. Okay. Discontinuity of the second kind. Function f of x is defined at x is equal to a, but the right limit and the left limit both fail to exist. I think you can visualize, you can take some example, you can draw some example to understand the third discontinuity. I'll leave it to you. Okay, it is defined but the left and the both limit, both of them don't exist. Okay, so these are the three kinds of discontinuity. We'll go to a model sum. If f of x is equal to x sine 1 by x, if x is not equal to 0, and 0 if x is equal to 0, determine whether f of x is continuous at x is equal to a. What I should do? I am defining a function. A function is given to us whose value, if x is not equal to 0, the value is x sine 1 by x. If x is equal to 0, the value is equal to 0. Determine whether f of x is continuous at x is equal to a. We will take this value a as equal to 0. Okay. So, we will check all the three conditions of continuity. What are the three conditions of continuity? First, function should be defined at that particular point and the limit at that particular point should exist. Is the function defined at 0? Yes, the function is defined as 0 at x is equal to 0. Therefore, f of 0 is equal to 0. This is the first condition. Second condition, whether the limit at that particular point 0 exists. What is limit extending to 0 f of x? We have solved this in the limits. Limit extending to 0, x sine 1 by x, the value is equal to 0. Therefore, the limit exists, the value of the limit is 0. Therefore, limit extending to 0 f of x is equal to the value of the function at 0. Therefore, by definition, f of x is continuous at x is equal to 0. So this is how we check whether a function is continuous at a given point. I am taking the point x as equal to 0 here. You can also go through few more problems. F of x is equal to 3x plus 1 if x is greater than 1 and 2x minus 1 if x is less than or equal to 1. This is simple. We should see what happens if x is greater than 1, it is a polynomial, so it is continuous. If x is less than 1, again it is a polynomial, so it is continuous. If x becomes equal to 1, then what happens? We should see checking the three conditions of continuity. Similarly for this particular function. Please do try these problems. Now we will move on to the second part, that is boundedness. What is boundary? In general, what is a boundary? In our house also we have a boundary. Boundary is something which limits as my area, inside which I am free to move. Outside I have no rights. Okay. In the same way, what is a boundary for a function? You can see a function on your screen, that is a curve. What function is this? Can you identify? It is the function of sin x curve. Okay. The function is moving smoothly. And you can see I have marked the points 1 and minus 1. The function does not go above 1 nor does it go below minus 1. Okay, it keeps on moving in between 1 and minus 1. Therefore, 1 and minus 1 are the boundaries for this particular function. It is not going above 1, that means 1 is an upper bound. It is not going below minus 1, that means minus 1 is a lower bound for this particular function. Both the sides it is bounded, therefore it is called as a bounded function. This is what is the notion of boundedness for functions. Formally, we will go through the definition. A function f of x is said to be bounded above in a set D which is contained in R if f of x is defined in D, there exists a real number m such that f of x is less than or equal to capital M for all x belonging to D. Simply it means that there is a number above which it cannot go. Okay, it is bounded in a set. When we are talking about continuity, we said we are talking about a point. Boundedness is in a particular set, in this interval, in this particular region, in this particular region. Therefore, boundedness is a particular region. Therefore, we say that it is bounded above if in that whole region where I talk about boundedness, it should be defined. Further, there exists a real number capital M because it is bounded above. The bigger one, I will call it as capital M, such that the value of the function f of x is always smaller than or equal to, less than or equal to m for all x in that particular domain. Similarly, I say that a function f of x is bounded below in a particular set. I call that set as D if f of x is defined in that particular domain, and further it does not go below a number, it is always above a certain number. That means there exists a real number small letter m such that f of x is greater than or equal to m for all x in that particular domain. Okay, so this is about bounded above and bounded below. Further, a function f of x is said to be bounded if it is bounded both above and below. In general, we will say that it is bounded. Examples, we just saw the example of the function sin x, it is a bounded function. f of x is equal to 1 by x is bounded in the interval open interval 1 comma 2 but not in the interval open interval 0 comma 1. You can look for the graph of 1 by x and you can see where it is bounded and not bounded. Once we know about boundedness, the next concept we have is the infimum and supremum. Okay. We see that there is a bounded function. I will come back over here. Now 1 is an upper bound because it does not go above 1. The function does not go above the value 1. Now what about a number 2 here? 2 is also above the function, so that the function does not take the value above 2. So 2 also acts as an upper bound. The value 3 also acts as an upper bound. So any number you take greater than 1, all those numbers act as an upper bound. Now I take a number just smaller than 1, say 0.99. Okay. Now the value of the function, the highest value sin x will take is 1. Okay. So what happens now? If I take a number smaller than 1, it fails to be an upper bound because 0.99, if I take a number smaller than 1, 0.99 is smaller than 1. But the function takes a value greater than 0.99. So 0.99 is not a upper bound. So what about 1? What is the quality of 1? It is an upper bound, but it is the least upper bound. Any number smaller than 1 cannot act as an upper bound. Okay. So there is a concept of all the upper bounds, the smallest one. We call it as the least upper bound. Okay. That itself we call it as supremum. Similarly, I will take this minus 1. Minus 2 also will be a lower bound because the function does not go below minus 2. Okay, therefore minus 2 is also a lower bound. Minus 3 is also a lower bound because the function does not go below minus 3. Therefore, any number smaller than minus 1, that also is a lower bound. But what is the speciality of minus 1? Minus 1 is the the greatest of all the lower bounds. I can have many lower bounds, but minus 1 is the greatest of all. So I can talk about the greatest lower bound. Okay. So we can say there is a least upper bound where also there exists a greatest lower bound. So we'll come back here. A real number m is said to be the greatest lower bound or the infimum. What is the condition? It should be a lower bound and it should be the greatest of all lower bounds. If, what is the condition? First condition, m is a lower bound of f of x in that particular given interval. The interval is the closed interval a comma b. Further, what is the second condition? If you pick any epsilon greater than 0, there exists a point x1 in the closed interval a comma b such that f of x1 is less than m plus epsilon. This is exactly another way of telling that any number smaller than this particular m cannot, any number smaller than any number greater than this cannot be the lower bound. Okay. So how do we do that? We'll come back here. I'll pick some epsilon. Okay. If I pick some epsilon over here, this minus 1 plus epsilon, I will take epsilon. Epsilon is a positive quantity. If for minus 1 I add a epsilon, it will be greater than minus 1. Okay. So that minus 1 plus epsilon will be a number greater here. That will not act as a lower bound. That will not act as a lower bound means what? F of I can find points in the function which go below that particular value. Okay, I hope you get that. For every epsilon greater than 0, I will talk about m plus epsilon. M plus epsilon will not act as a lower bound means I can find a point such that f of x1 is smaller than m plus epsilon. M plus epsilon is not a lower bound. Not a lower bound means there are values of the function smaller than that also. There exists x1 such that f of x1 is less than m plus epsilon. Similarly, I will go to supremum. A real number capital M is said to be the least upper bound. Least upper bound means any number smaller than capital letter M cannot be an upper bound, right? That least upper bound, another name we call as supremum of the function f of x defined over the closed interval a comma b if it must be an upper bound of the function in the interval. Second point, any number smaller than this cannot be an upper bound. So how do I choose a smaller number? For every epsilon greater than 0, m minus epsilon is smaller than capital M. So that this number cannot be an upper bound means what? There will exist value of the function which are greater than this. That means there exists a point x1 in the closed interval a comma b such that f of x1 is greater than m minus epsilon. Hope you have understood what is infimum and supremum. That completes boundedness for us. You can go through some arbitrary functions and try to identify whether the functions are bounded. If they are bounded, then what is the infimum and what is the supremum. Thank you for watching.